The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered under the light of 3 artificial suns. The massive chamber, designed to hold representatives from over 200 spacefaring species, had never felt more hostile. Marcus Gray stood alone at the center platform, his black diplomatic uniform feeling too tight around his neck as hundreds of alien eyes stared down at him. "The Council has reached its decision," announced the High Speaker, his blue-skinned form towering over the human representative. "Humanity has proven itself incapable of adhering to galactic standards of civilization." Marcus clenched his fists behind his back. 10 years of diplomatic service, a decade of building bridges between Earth and the galaxy's advanced species, all crumbling before his eyes. "With all due respect, High Speaker, humanity has met every technological requirement for membership. We've contributed to galactic medicine, developed new forms of energy production, and started 3 interplanetary conflicts in the past 5 years alone," interrupted a reptilian counselor from the upper tier. "Your species turns everything into a weapon. Even your medical advances have military applications." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Marcus felt sweat running down his back. The air itself seemed to grow heavier with each passing moment. "We gave humans a chance," said another counselor, this one covered in iridescent feathers. "We shared our knowledge, opened our trading routes, and what did Earth do? They began building warships with our technology. Those ships were for defense." Marcus protested, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "The pirate raids on our colonies could have been handled through proper channels." The High Speaker cut in. "Instead, your military took independent action, violating 3 separate peace treaties in the process." The truth stung. Earth's military commanders had indeed acted rashly, launching unauthorized strikes against pirate bases in neutral territory. They'd succeeded in stopping the raids, but the political cost had been devastating. "The Council's decision is final," declared the High Speaker. "Earth is hereby suspended from the Galactic Council. All trading rights are revoked. All technology sharing programs are terminated. A quarantine barrier will be established around your solar system." Marcus felt his heart sink. "High Speaker, please. This will devastate our economy. Millions depend on galactic trade. We have colonies that need support." "Your colonies will be given 1 standard year to evacuate back to Earth," said the blue-skinned giant. "After that, the quarantine will be complete. No ships in, no ships out." The chamber erupted in approving clicks, whistles, and rumbles. Marcus looked around desperately, searching for any friendly faces among the alien delegates. He found none. Even Earth's longtime allies were looking away, unwilling to meet his gaze. "When can we apply for raid mission?" Marcus asked, fighting to keep his voice steady. The High Speaker's expression might have been a smile or a sneer. Even after years of diplomatic service, Marcus still struggled to read alien facial expressions. "When you've evolved beyond your primitive nature, when you can prove that humans are more than clever animals with dangerous toys." The dismissal stung worse than the suspension itself. Marcus straightened his back, summoning what dignity he could. "And if we return before you think we're ready, then you will face the combined might of the Galactic Defense Fleet," the High Speaker said simply. "This session is concluded." As Marcus walked out of the chamber, his footsteps echoing on the crystalline floor, his communicator buzzed. The message from Earth Command was brief. "Return immediately. Emergency protocols initiated." He looked back one last time at the Grand Hall, at the culmination of humanity's first attempt to join galactic civilization. The artificial sun seemed dimmer now, casting long shadows across the empty platform where he'd stood. "You've made a mistake," he whispered, though no one was close enough to hear. "We're better than you think we are. And someday we'll prove it." The journey back to Earth was the longest of Marcus's life. As his diplomatic vessel cleared the Council Station's docking area, he watched the massive structure recede into the distance. The station was a marvel of engineering, a city in space that housed representatives from hundreds of worlds. Now it would go on without Earth, without humans. But Marcus knew his people. Isolation wouldn't break them. Rejection wouldn't stop them. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly what humanity needed. A reason to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The stars streaked past his viewport as the ship entered hyperspace, carrying him home to a humanity that would need to learn to stand alone. 20 years could change many things. The Earth that existed now was very different from the one that had faced humiliation at the Galactic Council. Admiral James Walker stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, his gray hair reflecting the soft blue glow of Earth above. Below him, on the moon's surface, thousands of workers moved like ants around massive construction facilities. The sight always filled him with pride. "Admiral, the test results are ready," said his assistant, Thomas, holding up a datapad. The quantum fold experiments were successful. Walker smiled. The aliens had thought their quarantine would break humanity's spirit. Instead, it had forced them to think differently, to push beyond known scientific limits. "Show me," he said, taking the pad. The numbers made his heart race. Their new drive system wasn't just different from alien technology. It was better. Much better. "Sir," Thomas continued, barely containing his excitement, "engineering says we can start installing the prototype on Project Phoenix next week." The Phoenix Project. Walker turned his gaze to the far side of the moon, where their greatest secret lay hidden. Even from space, no one could see it. 20 massive underground chambers, carved deep into lunar rock, housed humanity's response to their galactic rejection. "Have you informed the World Council?" Thomas asked. "Not yet." Walker handed back the pad. "Let's go see the ship first." The lunar shuttle ride was quick and smooth, another improvement born of necessity. With no alien trade, humans had been forced to perfect their own transportation technology. The shuttle docked at a hidden entrance that looked like any other crater. Inside, everything changed. The underground facility stretched for miles, filled with the latest human technology. Workers and scientists moved with purpose, all focused on a single goal: building humanity's masterpiece. As they entered the main chamber, Walker heard Thomas gasp. No matter how many times you saw it, the sight was breathtaking. The HMS Phoenix hung in the enormous cavern like a sleeping giant. Over 2 miles long, its black hull seemed to absorb light. Unlike the blocky alien ships Walker remembered from his younger days, the Phoenix was sleek, dangerous, and beautiful. "Status report," Walker called out as they reached the control center. "Hull is 98% complete," responded the chief engineer, Lisa. She pulled up a holographic display showing the ship's internals. "The new quantum fold drive will fit perfectly in the main engine housing. Weapons systems are ready for final testing, and the AI core is running all simulations at 100% efficiency." Walker nodded, studying the display. The Phoenix wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's statement to the galaxy. Every piece of technology on board had been developed during their isolation. They'd taken different paths than the alien sciences, found new ways to solve old problems. "What about the shields?" he asked. Lisa grinned. "That's the best part. Remember how the aliens used energy fields for defense? We took a different approach. Our research team studied black holes, learned how they bend space itself. The Phoenix doesn't just block attacks, it redirects them through microscopic space-time folds." "In simple terms?" Thomas asked, looking confused. "In simple terms," Walker explained, "we built something better than anyone out there has ever seen." A young technician rushed up to them, holding another datapad. "Admiral, we just received word from the crew selection committee. They've chosen Captain Robert Stone to command the Phoenix." Walker smiled. Stone was a good choice, young enough to embrace new ideas, experienced enough to command respect. More importantly, he understood what this mission meant for humanity. Looking up at the massive ship, Walker felt 20 years of work, hopes, and dreams coming together. The aliens had locked humanity away, expecting them to either destroy themselves or come crawling back begging for forgiveness. Instead, humans had done what they did best. They'd adapted, innovated, and overcome. "How long until she's ready for her first flight?" Walker asked. 3 months, Lisa replied. "We can have the quantum fold drive installed and tested in 6 weeks. After that, it's just final systems integration and crew training." Walker placed his hand against the cold metal railing, feeling the subtle vibrations of machinery echoing through the facility. In 3 months, humanity would break their quarantine, not as beggars returning to the Galactic Council, but as equals, or perhaps even more than equals. "Send word to all project leads," he said. "I want everyone to understand. We get one chance to show the galaxy what humanity has become. Let's make it count." The Phoenix waited silently above them, its dark hull promising a future that no alien race had anticipated. Humanity's return to the stars would be remembered for centuries to come. The final testing day arrived with a mix of tension and excitement in the air. Captain Robert Stone stood on the bridge of the HMS Phoenix, his new uniform crisp and black, watching as his crew took their positions. Each person had been chosen from millions of candidates worldwide, the best pilots, engineers, and scientists humanity had to offer. "All stations, report in," Stone commanded, his voice steady despite the historic moment. "Engineering ready," came the first response. "Quantum fold drive at full power. Weapons systems online. Shield matrix active. I-core operating at optimal levels." One by one, each station reported their readiness. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency, screens glowing with data streams as the most advanced human-made computer systems ever created monitored every aspect of the massive ship. Admiral Walker entered the bridge, accompanied by the project's lead scientist, Dr. Emma Reed. "Captain Stone." Walker nodded. "Is she ready?" "Yes, sir," Stone replied. "All systems are green. We're ready for the first full power test." Dr. Reed moved to a nearby console, her fingers dancing over the controls. "The quantum fold drive is unlike anything the aliens have," she explained. "While they rely on bending space in a single direction, we fold it completely. Think of it as the difference between walking around a mountain and stepping through it." "Target coordinates are set," announced the navigation officer. "We'll jump to Mars orbit, hold position for systems check, then return." Stone took his command chair, feeling the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a test flight. It was humanity's first step back into the galactic community. "Begin launch sequence." The massive underground hangar doors above them started to open, revealing the star-filled lunar sky. The Phoenix's engines hummed to life, a deep vibration that ran through the entire ship. "Artificial gravity stable," reported engineering. "Structural integrity at 100%. "Take us up," Stone ordered. The Phoenix rose from its lunar cradle with impossible grace for something so large. Its black hull caught the starlight, making it look like a piece of the night sky had come alive. As they cleared the hangar, Stone could see the gathered crowds at the observation posts, watching humanity's greatest achievement take flight. "We're clear of Luna's gravity well," navigation reported. "Ready for quantum fold jump." Stone looked at Admiral Walker, who nodded. "Make history, Captain. Engage quantum fold drive," Stone commanded. For a brief moment, reality seemed to bend. The stars stretched, then folded in on themselves. There was no sensation of movement, no violent shake like the old faster-than-light drives, just a quiet moment of impossibility. And then, Mars orbit achieved, navigation announced, almost sounding surprised. Total transit time, 0.3 seconds. The red planet filled their view screen, but Stone was more interested in the data streaming across his display. The jump had used minimal power, caused no strain on the ship's systems, and left no traceable signature. It was perfect. "Run full diagnostic," Dr. Reed ordered, her eyes bright with excitement. "Check every system." The results came in quickly. Every aspect of the Phoenix had performed beyond expectations. The quantum fold drive hadn't just worked, it had outperformed their most optimistic projections. "Sir," the sensor officer called out suddenly, "I'm picking up some unusual readings from the shield matrix." Stone tensed, but Dr. Reed was already smiling. "That's the microfold defense system activating. Watch this." She pressed a few buttons, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the bridge. The display showed a simulation of weapons fire hitting the Phoenix's shields. Instead of being absorbed or deflected, the energy simply disappeared, redirected through microscopic folds in space-time. "The more power they hit us with," Dr. Reed explained, "the more energy our shields can redirect. We don't just defend against attacks. We make them meaningless." Admiral Walker stepped forward, looking at the Mars landscape before them. 20 years ago, the Galactic Council thought they were punishing us. They never imagined we'd create something like this. "Orders, sir?" Stone asked. Walker smiled. "Take us home, Captain. We have a lot of preparations to make before we show the galaxy what humanity has become." As the Phoenix folded space once more, returning to Luna with the same effortless grace, Stone thought about the message they would send to the Galactic Council. They wouldn't return with threats or demands. They would simply arrive, in a ship that shouldn't exist, with technology that shouldn't be possible. Sometimes, he thought, the best revenge was simply proving them wrong. The Galactic Council station looked exactly as it had 20 years ago. Its massive crystalline spires still sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns, and ships from hundreds of alien species still docked at its numerous ports. But today, something was different. Today, humanity would return. In the Council's great chamber, representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for their annual assembly. The High Speaker, older now but still commanding respect with his towering blue form, was discussing trade regulations when the chamber's emergency alerts suddenly blared to life. "Unknown vessel detected." The security chief's voice echoed through the chamber. "Massive ship emerging from nowhere." The chamber's main display activated, showing a real-time view of space around the station. What the assembled representatives saw made them fall silent in shock. A massive black ship, easily dwarfing the largest council vessels, had appeared without warning. Its sleek design was unlike anything in known space, its hull seeming to absorb light itself. "Impossible," the High Speaker whispered. "Our sensor network should have detected any approach." "Sir," the security chief's voice was tense. "The ship, it's human in origin." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives called for immediate military action, others demanded evacuation, and a few simply stood in stunned silence. The High Speaker raised his hands for order, but before he could speak, a communication request came through. "This is Captain Robert Stone of the HMS Phoenix," a calm human voice announced over the chamber speakers. "We request permission to send a diplomatic party to address the Council." The High Speaker looked at his security advisors, who were frantically analyzing readings from the mysterious ship. "Their weapon systems?" he asked quietly. "Unknown design, sir," one advisor replied. "But the power readings are off the scale. They could have fired already if they wanted to." On the main display, the Phoenix hung motionless. Its size became even more apparent as several Council defense ships moved to intercept it, looking like small insects next to a whale. "Attention human vessel," the High Speaker announced, trying to maintain his dignity. "You are in violation of the quarantine order. Remove yourself immediately, or—" "With respect," Captain Stone interrupted, his voice still calm. "We're not here to fight, but we will not leave. 20 years ago, you told humanity to return when we had evolved. We've done exactly that." As if to demonstrate his point, several Council ships fired warning shots at the Phoenix. The energy weapons, powerful enough to cripple most ships, simply disappeared before touching the black hull. There was no shield flare, no visible defense system. The attacks simply ceased to exist. The chamber fell silent again. The High Speaker found himself remembering the words spoken 2 decades ago. Return when you've evolved beyond your primitive nature. Very well, the High Speaker finally said. You may send 3 representatives, but know that our defensive fleet stands ready. The response was immediate. Look at your sensor readings, Stone suggested. Your entire fleet's weapons would be useless against our shields. But as I said, we're not here to fight. Minutes later, the chamber's transport pad activated. 3 humans appeared. Captain Stone in his black uniform, an older man with admiral's insignia, and a woman in a scientific officer's uniform. Admiral Walker, his hair now completely white, stepped forward. Some of the older council members recognized him from Earth's previous diplomatic missions. Members of the Galactic Council, he announced, his voice carrying across the chamber. 20 years ago, you isolated humanity, believing we were too dangerous to join galactic society. You thought our quarantine would weaken us, force us to change according to your expectations. He gestured to the display showing the Phoenix. Instead, we evolved in our own way. The ship you see isn't just a display of power. It's proof that humanity can find paths that no one else has discovered. We developed technologies your scientists thought impossible. We solved problems in ways you never considered. Dr. Reed stepped forward, holding up a data tablet. We're not here to demand anything. We're here to share, because while we were isolated, we discovered something approaching. Something ancient and hostile. Something that threatens not just humanity, but all sentient life. The High Speaker stared at the humans, his previous confidence shaken. And what, he asked slowly, do you expect from us? Captain Stone smiled slightly. The same thing we've always wanted. A chance to prove ourselves as equals. The galaxy is about to face its greatest threat. The question is, will you face it alone, or will you accept humanity as allies? The council chamber's holographic display filled with images that made even the most seasoned space travelers shift uncomfortably in their seats. Dr. Reed manipulated the controls, showing massive dark objects moving between galaxies, leaving dead systems in their wake. We discovered them 3 years ago, she explained, her voice steady. During our isolation, we developed new ways to observe deep space. Our quantum fold technology allowed us to detect things that traditional sensors miss. A High Speaker leaned forward, his blue skin pale under the artificial light. You claim these entities are heading toward our galaxy. Not claiming, Captain Stone corrected. We've tracked their movement. At their current speed, they'll reach the outer rim in less than 5 years. Admiral Walker activated another hologram, this one showing detailed scans of the mysterious objects. They're artificial constructs, each one larger than a solar system. We've recorded them consuming entire stars for energy. A reptilian counselor rose from his seat. This is absurd. You expect us to believe that during your isolation, you not only developed impossible technology, but also discovered some ancient threat that our combined civilizations missed. Actually, Dr. Reed interrupted, bringing up more data. You didn't miss them. We found references in over a dozen ancient civilizations' records. Your people called them the Devourers. Others named them Star Eaters or the Dark Fleet. Every civilization that encountered them either vanished or fled. The chamber erupted in worried whispers. The High Speaker raised his hand for silence. Assuming we believe you, why share this information? You could have kept your advanced technology to yourself, left us to our fate. Captain Stone stepped forward. Because that's exactly what they would do. He gestured to the images of the approaching threat. They consume, they destroy, they move on. We chose a different path. Dr. Reed brought up new displays, these showing the Phoenix's defensive systems. Our quantum fold technology doesn't just power our engines or shields. It can be adapted into a weapon against these entities. But one ship, even one as advanced as the Phoenix, isn't enough. We need allies. The Phoenix's construction plans, Admiral Walker added, all our technological advances, we're offering to share them. Not because we have to, but because it's the right thing to do. The High Speaker studied the humans carefully. 20 years ago, we feared your warlike nature, your tendency to turn everything into a weapon. Why should we trust you now? Because we did turn everything into a weapon, Stone replied honestly. We took your rejection, your isolation, your contempt, and we turned them into motivation to become better. We took impossible problems and found new solutions. Yes, we built weapons, but we also built bridges, developed medical technology that can regenerate entire organs, created energy systems that could power planets without pollution. Dr. Reed stepped forward, her expression serious. The choice before you isn't whether to trust humans. It's whether you'll let old prejudices blind you to the real threat. She pointed to the dark shapes in the hologram. They're coming, whether you believe us or not. The only question is whether we face them together or separately. A long silence filled the chamber. Finally, an elderly counselor, one who had been present for humanity's expulsion 20 years ago, stood up. I remember, he said slowly, thinking we were teaching humans a lesson with our quarantine. Looking at what they've achieved, perhaps they were teaching us one instead. The High Speaker nodded slowly. Show us, he said. Show us everything you've discovered, everything you've built. If what you say is true, we have much work to do. Dr. Reed smiled and expanded her holographic display. The chamber filled with images of human innovations, quantum fold drives, regenerative medical tech, energy systems that defied conventional physics. 20 years of human ingenuity and determination, laid bare for their former judges to see. One condition, Admiral Walker added. When this is over, when we face this threat together, humanity takes its place as a full member of the Council, not as students or subordinates, but as equals. The High Speaker looked at the phoenix on the main display, then at the approaching darkness in the scientific readings. Finally, he looked at the three humans standing proudly before him. No, he said softly, not as equals. As teachers, you've earned that much. In the silence that followed, humanity's return to the galactic community was marked not by conflict or submission, but by a simple truth. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming exactly what others said you couldn't be. 3 months after humanity's return to the Galactic Council, the massive shipyards around Jupiter buzzed with unprecedented activity. Ships from dozens of alien races floated alongside human vessels, all being fitted with quantum fold technology. The sight would have been unimaginable just months ago. Inside the Council's Emergency Command Center, established on board the Phoenix, Captain Stone watched as Dr. Reed trained alien engineers on the new systems. The former barriers of distrust had melted away in the face of necessity and human innovation. The quantum fold drive installation on the Centaurian fleet is complete, reported Thomas, now serving as Chief Liaison Officer. Their ships are showing a 300% increase in speed and efficiency. Admiral Walker nodded approvingly. He stood before a massive holographic display, showing fleet movements across the galaxy. Hundreds of dots represented ships being upgraded with human technology, forming the first line of defense against the approaching threat. The Council's Science Division has confirmed all our findings, announced the High Speaker, entering the command center. His once proud stance had been replaced by a more humble bearing. The Devourers will reach the outer rim in exactly 4 years, 3 months, and 17 days. Then we're ahead of schedule, Stone replied, gesturing to the display. At current rates, we'll have the combined fleet upgraded within 2 years. That leaves us time to prepare our defense strategies. A group of alien scientists huddled around Dr. Reed's workstation, watching in amazement as she demonstrated the principles behind the quantum fold shields. The key was thinking differently, she explained. While you tried to block or deflect energy, we learned to fold space itself. The attacks don't hit our shields. They enter one fold and exit another, harmlessly, into empty space. Brilliant, muttered one of the alien scientists. Simple yet impossible. We had the same basic laws of physics, but never conceived of using them this way. The High Speaker moved to stand beside Admiral Walker. when we forced humanity into isolation," he said quietly. "We thought we were protecting the galaxy from your aggressive nature. Instead, we nearly deprived ourselves of our best chance for survival." Walker smiled slightly. "Humans have a saying, pressure creates diamonds. You gave us no choice but to innovate, to think beyond conventional limits. Every closed door forced us to find a new way forward." Across the room, alarms suddenly chimed. All eyes turned to the main display, where new data was streaming in from the deep space sensors humanity had deployed. "Movement from the Devourers," Stone announced, studying the readings. "They've increased their speed. New arrival estimate, 3 years, not 4. Instead of panic, the room filled with determined energy. Alien and human crew members moved with shared purpose, updating calculations and adjusting plans. "We'll need to accelerate the fleet upgrades," Dr. Reed said, already modifying her training protocols. "I can streamline the installation process, maybe save us a few months." The high speaker straightened, his old authority returning but now tempered with wisdom. "I will inform the Council. We must call an emergency session too." "No," Admiral Walker interrupted firmly. "No more sessions, no more debates. You asked humanity to teach. Now let us teach you this. When facing extinction, bureaucracy is a luxury we can't afford." Surprisingly, the high speaker laughed. "Indeed, 20 years ago, such words would have confirmed our worst fears about humans. Now they sound like the wisdom we desperately need." Captain Stone moved to the center of the command room. "The Devourers want to consume our galaxy because they think it's composed of isolated, weak civilizations. Instead, they'll find something unprecedented. A galaxy united, armed with technology they've never encountered, ready to defend itself." Dr. Reed looked up from her workstation. "Early simulations show our quantum-fold technology should be effective against their harvesting methods. If we can't stop them completely, we can at least make consuming our stars too costly for them to continue." The high speaker surveyed the room, watching humans and aliens working side by side with perfect coordination. "Perhaps," he said thoughtfully, "this is what true evolution looks like. Not biological changes or technological advancement alone, but learning to overcome our prejudices and unite despite our differences." Admiral Walker nodded. "That's the real lesson humanity learned during our isolation. Strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. It's about adapting, innovating, and most importantly, knowing when to set aside old grievances for the greater good." Outside the Phoenix's windows, more ships arrived for their upgrades, their crews eager to learn from the species they had once rejected. Humanity's vindication had come not through violence or vengeance, but through excellence and a willingness to share it with others. 5 years had passed since humanity's return to the galactic stage. The view from the Phoenix's command bridge showed a galaxy transformed. Where once there had been division and distrust, now a unified fleet of over 10,000 ships, all equipped with human quantum-fold technology, stood ready for the greatest battle in galactic history. Captain Stone, now Fleet Commander Stone, studied the tactical display. The Devourers' massive forms loomed at the edge of galactic space, their planet-sized bodies casting shadows across entire star systems. "All fleets report ready," announced Thomas from his station. "Quantum-fold drives synchronized across all ships." Admiral Walker, his hair now pure white, but his eyes still sharp, stood beside Dr. Reed at the main science station. "The moment of truth," he said quietly. "Everything we worked for comes down to this." The high speaker, representing the unified Galactic Council, watched from his honorary position on the bridge. In the past 5 years, he had become one of humanity's strongest supporters, helping to break down centuries of prejudice and discrimination. "The Devourers have started their approach," Dr. Reed reported, her hands moving across her controls. "Their energy signature matches our predictions. They're preparing to consume their first star system." Stone straightened in his command chair. "Send the signal to all ships. Execute Battle Plan Phoenix." Across the massive fleet, ships blinked out of existence, using their quantum-fold drives in ways the galaxy had never seen before. The plan, developed by human tactical experts and refined by alien strategists, was both simple and revolutionary. The Devourers, massive as they were, found themselves surrounded. Ships appeared and disappeared in carefully choreographed patterns, their quantum-fold shields redirecting the enormous energy attacks the ancient entities fired at them. First wave successful, Thomas reported. No casualties. The Devourers' energy weapons are being redirected exactly as planned. Dr. Reed smiled at her station. They don't understand what they're facing. Their technology is based on overwhelming force. They've never encountered an enemy that could simply fold space around their attacks. The battle unfolded like a complex dance. The combined fleet moved in perfect synchronization, appearing and disappearing around the massive entities. Each ship played its part in the carefully orchestrated plan, demonstrating what was possible when different species worked together. "They're attempting to retreat," announced the tactical officer. "Their energy readings are dropping." Stone nodded. "Just as we predicted. They've never faced resistance like this. They're used to easy prey, not unified opposition." The High Speaker watched in amazement as the Devourers, these ancient terrors that had consumed countless civilizations, began to withdraw. "You didn't just give us the means to fight them," he said to Admiral Walker. "You showed us how to stand together." "Phase 2, Stone commanded. "Show them why they should never return." The fleet moved as one, using their quantum-fold drives to create a massive spatial distortion. The technology that had started as a simple propulsion system had evolved into something more, a way to reshape space itself. The Devourers found themselves caught in a web of folded space, their massive bodies trapped between dimensions. Their retreat turned into a rout, their ancient forms disappearing into deep space. "They're gone," Dr. Reed confirmed after several tense minutes. Long-range sensors show them moving away at maximum speed. Based on their trajectory, they're heading toward empty space between galaxies. A cheer went up across the bridge, quickly spreading through the entire fleet. Humanity's technology, combined with the unified strength of the galaxy's species, had accomplished what countless civilizations had failed to do. They had driven back the unconquerable. Admiral Walker turned to the High Speaker. 20 years ago, you told us to return when we had evolved. I wonder, did you ever consider that maybe we weren't the only ones who needed to evolve?" The High Speaker bowed his head in acknowledgement. "When we sent you into isolation, we thought we were protecting the galaxy from humanity. Instead, we nearly deprived ourselves of our saviors." Stone stood from his command chair. "Not saviors," he corrected. "Partners. What we accomplished today wasn't just about human technology or innovation. It was about showing the galaxy what's possible when we put aside our fears and work together." As the fleet began its victory formation, ships from hundreds of species flying proudly alongside the Phoenix, Dr. Reed's console beeped with an incoming transmission. "We're receiving messages from across the galaxy," she announced. "Every council world, every independent system. They're all asking for permanent human representatives. They want us to teach them, to help them grow." Admiral Walker smiled, looking out at the stars, stars that would continue to shine because humanity had refused to accept limitations, had chosen to share their strength rather than seek revenge. "And so," he said quietly, "a new era begins."